everybody. Of course. Thank you, Shaun, for being here. I said we should have brought the show outside on any day. This would be the day.
Right.
We could add some snowball fights, built a ramp or something. Because, you know, I'm a really good snowboarder.
I saw somebody snowboarding through the city streets last time it snowed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it you?
No, I was pretty jealous, though.
So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
We're excited to talk to you about your new Go 90 project. So let's start there. It's called Countdown Korea.
Countdown Korea, yeah.
And I'm assuming it's a countdown to the Olympics, which you are going to be at, correct?
Yeah, it's awesome. I actually, yesterday marks the 1 year countdown yesterday. So it's exactly 1 year out from the next Winter Olympics, which is really exciting. I mean, they showed the new outfits, everybody gets excited, we start training harder, you know, qualifying events, series, all these things leading up to the Olympics. So Countdown Korea is part of that. It's following myself and some other riders on our kind of paths to get to the Olympics, because for each person it's different. You know, mine is snowboarding in California at Mammoth Mountain, doing specific events. I had an ankle surgery, I had all these things that, you know, kind of happened to me in my path to get to the Olympics, and everybody's different, so that's why we're really focusing in on shooting that and making it something special.
Yeah. So it's a documentary type series. Will it be, you know, episodes, or are they?
Yeah, there'll be little episodes that come through. And it's cool. Go 90 is a newer app by Verizon, and it's a social streaming platform. And we're making a lot of really exciting content that's exclusive for Go 90. So this is the only place you can get it. But yeah, you can download the app for free.
So what kind of will we see from your story? Do you only appear in like an episode that's going to follow you, or is it kind of following all the snowboarders?
It's following all of them, yeah. It's just a mixture, so I'm kind of in and out of that. But obviously, we're shooting it, so I have a bigger role in it.
Yeah.
You know, and they can get more exclusive stuff with me because I'm letting them, the filmers, into my world. You know, really into it, of what it takes to get there, and the hardships and the easy times and the, you know, everything that goes into it.
Yeah. So what will we see? What can we expect to see?
I gave away the ankle surgery.
Yes, I'm like,
our big clincher.
Do you show the actual surgery? And
my buddy did the operation, yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm lying. No, not at all.
Shaun, maybe you should have hired a
there
real
with
doctor.
the scrubs and the. No, I had an old injury that was kind of plaguing me for a while, and there's like no good time to do something like that. You know, like, oh, let's pick this month to be on the couch and do nothing. You know, I can't get around, I can't do anything, and so I decided after our trip down to New Zealand, we go to New Zealand because our summer is their winter. So you go down, there's always snow to train. And I was learning new tricks, things, and I had a piece of bone that had been floating in my ankle for about 7 years, and I had to get it removed. But that was like the start to my season. Not the best way to start an Olympic qualifying sort of season, but yeah, here we go. Anyways.
What was the recovery time on that? Were you on the couch for a month or over a month?
Yeah, a little over a month. I mean, luckily for me, I've been through this scenario before. I've had injuries, and I kind of know what to do. And they have these new machines that you can get that you fill them with ice, and they pump ice and cold water through these like pressurized sleeves. It's really amazing technology to sit there. So I just sit on the couch and ice all day, and I've pretty much seen every single TV series you can imagine. So, yeah.
You have any favorites?
Whiz me. Man, I got really deep into that one, Marco Polo. You seen that with Genghis Khan?
Yep.
Got real into it. It's like wearing the fur in the house. Like, just, it was, yeah.
You can go
it was
crazy.
The Mongol way. I was in there. Yeah. The couple people that have seen it. You get me. Okay. Yeah.
So what has training been like for you after the surgery? Where did you go from there, and what kind of things do you do to prepare for the Olympics? Because, I mean, this will be your fourth one?
This will be my fourth Olympics. You know, yeah, so the recovery time was, you know, what it was, and you got to slowly test out the ankle and get back into it. Walking's first step, then slowly, you know, working the stairs and doing things like that. And then once you get to the point where you can actually, you know, do a jump and land on it with pressure, that's when you're really starting to recover and see the benefits. But I was being hindered by this piece of bone. I couldn't like bend my ankle fully, and if I did it past a certain point, it would just kind of flare up, and I couldn't do anything for about a week or so, which is really terrible. So now that that's out of the way, it feels incredible. I'm so glad that I did it, which was a bit of a gamble, but it worked out. But yeah, this season's interesting because it's not the Olympic season, and there's no actual qualifying events, but you do have to do competitions that get you points in order to qualify for the qualifying of the Olympics. Mm-hmm. So one of those just took place at Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort, and it was great. I won the event.
Shaun White won, guys.
I won, all right.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So it's great. You get points. You get all these things that lead into the next qualifying series. So I'm teed up very nice to go up and compete next season for the actual Olympics. Yeah. But it's great, and it's a nice time to actually watch your competitors and see what they're doing. So I actually leave here. I go home for probably a couple days, and then right after that, I fly to Korea to go to the actual site where they will host the Olympics. And they do a dry run, like a full test run of what it's going to be like, what the half pipe build's going to be like, what it's like to drive up to the mountain, at what time of day is the sun shining through, and which wall's sunny, which wall's not, you know, what the snow conditions are like, you know, everything. Where can I get a decent meal? Where can I,
that's cool.
Yeah, where the hotel's located, all these things. So you really get to have a nice feeling of what it'll be like instead of just showing up and maybe being surprised by something. So. Yeah.
And so do they let you kind of go down the pipe and get a feel for it, and then you guys can kind of tell them what you think?
We do a contest, yeah. We do a full-on event. So, yeah, I don't know. Usually they're not as good as what the Olympics will be. They tend to really give it their all at that point, but it is a nice little preview of what to expect.
So who are the riders this season that you have your eye out for? Believe it or not, you're kind of a veteran, even though you're, 30 years old, but there's some young bucks
30
in there.
In September. Yeah, there's a kid that's really great. His name's Ayumu. He's a Japanese snowboarder. He's my favorite, not because of his riding, but he's got this like deep, he's a shorter guy, but he's got this like deep Yakuza voice. He's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, was it good? He's like, oh, that's very good. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like, you know, he's got the samurai in him. But he's really incredibly talented kid, and I only say kid because at the last Olympics, I think he was 14 or 15 trying out, and now he's 16 or 17. But really great guy and really competitive, you know, and he's learning the new tricks, and it's definitely nice to have someone like that there because you don't want to. I don't know. I don't think you ever want to feel like you got it made. Yeah. In that sense, because it really limits your inspiration to go out and try new stuff. Or if you think that there's somebody there that might have a chance of competing with you, then you go out and have a goal in mind of what you want to do and a motivation. So there's him, and then there's Yuri Polozhnikov. We call him iPod. He exactly. He's a Swiss rider, I think born in Russia. He's the one that won the last Olympics. Mm-hmm. And he's a great guy. He's super fun. He's incredibly Swiss. He named the trick that it's called the double flip 1440, but he named it the YOLO flip as his big joke on the world that he's like, look, everyone has to say YOLO now. Literally, he's like, look him on the news. And they're like, oh, coming in, Shaun White doing the YOLO flip. They said YOLO again, look. And like it's his big joke on it, but now I have to say it. He's winning every time. But yeah, so he's a great guy. He's a competitor. I don't know if he's won a competition since the Olympics. He's had a little rough patch here, but you know, and that's how it goes. It's up and down, and you got to learn new tricks, get inspired, and come back and do good, or find that place where, you know, yeah, you either stop or, you know, rise above it. Yeah. Because
when you think back on your last Olympics, I saw you on, I think it was the Today Show or one of those shows where you said it kind of sticks with you what happened, and you haven't been able to really shake it off. What have you learned from that experience, and what do you hope to bring to 2018? Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, a lot of people want to find out, like, when did you get over it? Like, when do you stop, like, feeling the pain from a loss like that or something? And my response, and the best way to describe it, is like, you never do. Yeah. At least for me, it's like, it's just with you. It's a part of you now. It's like if when you were a kid and you you know, if you have that scar from falling down off a bicycle or something, like it's just, you learn what not to do, and that's a subtle reminder of it. And that's great, you know, I needed that in my life to now learn all of these things that came from that disappointment. And, you know, I'd never gone to an Olympics and lost since I was a kid, so I had no idea what it felt like, what was going to happen afterward. You know, is my dog still going to like me? Like, shit, like, I had no idea, you know, and it was great to see that, like, wow, I still, like, I'm alive, I'm okay, like, my family's here, this is great, you know, and it really is a true testament of what competition's all about, you know, like, I win, I had a goal in mind, I didn't achieve it, and now I'm even more inspired than I've ever been before to go back and achieve the same goal, or to right the wrongs from before, and that's what it's all about. Shit, like Rocky didn't even win the first movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like the thrill of the fight. It's what it is. You know, you become an Olympian, you're part of history. It's like this whole thing that happens, and obviously winning medals is the icing on the cake, but just to be there and be a part of it is history, so it's really nice.
And do you ever really feel the pressure, though, you know, from your dog, maybe? That dog is really putting on the pressure for you to win. You know, you have so many fans and so many other snowboarders who look up to you, and you're the best of the best. So does that pressure ever bother you?
You know, it's funny because I always twist it in my favor. I don't know. And you can do it in any aspect of life. But if you think about it, you know, going into the Olympics, if everyone's thinking I can do it, that's pretty great. You know, like, wow, well, all these people believe I can do it. Maybe I just can. You know, maybe it's something to be inspired by and motivate you rather than something to weigh you down. You know, when I go to a competition and I lose or win, I always feel like it's a win, because I either win and I get the reassurance of, like, what you've been doing is great, keep on the same path, or I don't, and I know exactly where I need to be now. I know exactly what I need to do, and it's that trial and error process. And so I don't know, as long as you look at it in the right way, you can always kind of benefit from it. Yeah.
And are you ever more scared with, you know, being 30, you're not old at all, but in the, you know, when you're seeing 16-year-olds like flip in the air, and you looked back on yourself as a teenager where you had kind of no fear to go for these tricks, do you have that fear now?
Oh man, I'm like, what an idiot. No, I mean, you hit 30 and you're like, wow, it looks dangerous. Like, you know what I mean? Like I noticed a bit more, and I'm more aware. Like, you got the weather app on my phone. I'm like, it's gonna be better weather tomorrow. Let's just come back tomorrow. Like, there's always these new excuses I find or things. But where when I was a kid, I just didn't think about it at all. But then again, there's strengths and weaknesses to that as well. I mean, I didn't think as much when I was younger. I didn't take care of myself the way I do now. I don't train the way I do now. I started working out last year.
You had never worked out before?
I only worked out when I was injured, because you know, if you have an injury, then you have to kind of strengthen to protect that particular part of your body that was hurt. And then I would just stop once it got better and go on my way. And I always laughed about it because, you know, we take the chairlift, we're going downhill. I'm like, you know, it didn't seem as strenuous to me. And at the time, like, working out was lame. It's like,
I know.
You know, it's not rad. I mean, well, that's the thing is, you know, being a snowboarder and like having an agent or working out or trying hard was very uncool. And now in the day and age we live in, it's like people are posting on Instagram at the gym and doing it. It's like become a very socially accepted thing to like be physically fit and to let people know that you're there too. So for me, I was like, oh, that's all right. You know, like, hey, wait a minute, I guess I am an athlete. I should give this a try. You know, and as I'm getting older and things, I was like, this is a perfect time for me to really dig into that. It's socially accepted, all these things. And so, yeah, I started training, and the benefits have been unbelievable. I broke an old record of mine last season, the highest air out of the half pipe. So the half pipe wall itself is 22 feet tall from the flat to the top. And then my old record was a 24-foot air out of that. So you're dropping all the way down to the bottom. Or at least halfway back into the half pipe. And then this last season, I did a 26-foot air and broke my old record. And it was in my run. And I hadn't ridden for about a month before that. I had some personal things going on in my life. And then a good friend of mine had passed away, and so like life stops. You go and figure out what you do there, and then I had to do promotions for my event, Aaron Style, that we'll probably talk about in a minute. But I hadn't ridden in a month, and then but I'd stayed on the workout program, and I show up, and first run I crushed it. So it was really great, and you could see the benefits of working out and doing these things. And now that I do it, I can't imagine how I did it without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just assumed you did tons of squats and yoga to work on that core and that leg strength,
I just I surf, I skate, I snowboard, I've gone on bike rides, you know what I mean? I'm just always active. You walk the dog, you do, you know what I mean? I take the stairs at the airport. So, but really and I was, and I was younger, so it was easier to get by. But now that I've gotten older and more inspired by it, I definitely take more time to give myself that extra boost, a helping hand. Yeah.
You're not just, as you said, you have this Aaron Style festival. You're not just a snowboarder. You're kind of, launching your own thing here, your own company. And talk a little bit about Aaron Style. It's like a boarding music sort of combination.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
No, Aaron Style is it's a sports and music festival, and it started about 23 years ago in Austria. This guy named Andrew Harmont was like, let's have a big jump, and then après ski, we'll have schnapps, and he was a very Austrian guy, and so they had this event, and it was so popular because all the riders wanted to go there and have a party and hang out. And since all the best riders in the world are there now, it became a very prestigious event. And so I competed there when I was younger. I've always loved the event. And then as the event grew, it grew into into Beijing in China in the Bird's Nest. And they asked me when they made that move, they said, hey, can you come host the event? Because we need a familiar face, someone to actually explain to the people of China what the sport's all about through your stories and my family history and all these things. So I said, yes, that'd be great. I got there and my name's Shaun White presents the Aaron Style on the Bird's Nest. It's this massive stadium. And I'm like, this is amazing. We got to do this in the U.S. I want to be a bigger part of it. And a couple years later, I ended up buying the event from Andrew. And my idea was to really elaborate on the sports and music of it, and so making an event that's like a Coachella meets X Games. So we blew it up. The first year was in LA at the Rose Bowl. We had Kendrick Lamar, Steve Aoki, we had Diplo, we had Fantagram, Sleigh Bells, all these amazing music acts. And it was awesome. It really worked. And so then we did it again. Second year, we changed the venue down to the Coliseum in Expo Park. And amazing acts, J. Cole, A$AP Ferg, all these amazing people. And so we're doing it again. This will be the third year in Los Angeles. It's actually coming up this February 18th and 19th at the LA Coliseum in downtown Los Angeles. And
Beyonce headlining?
I know, right? I wish. One of the kids probably will. I'm fingers crossed for that. Yeah, but it's amazing. It's actually a tour now. So we do one event in China, one in Austria, and then Los Angeles. We crown the winner from the snowboarding aspect of, who won the overall title, and we make this really cool championship ring, inspired by these rings that I have because I won these at the Olympics.
So cool. I was
going to say. People know they give you rings when you win. So I was like, we should put that in our event. So anyways.
Yeah.
Subtleties from everywhere, and but yeah, it's a really big deal. You go to aaronstyle.com and get your tickets, and it's an amazing event though for me because I'm in the driver's seat now, so I can make it better for the athletes. I can make it better for the musicians. I can I'm a festival goer myself, so I'm like, better bathroom lines. Let's do this differently. And there's a lot of amazing undertones to the event. I make sure that kids 10 and under get in for free. So my idea behind that was the fact that I'm from Southern California, man. I had asthma as a kid. I hate the cold. I'd go on my weekends up to Big Bear, Snow Summit, and go ride. I'm like, oh, this is fun. I figured out how to, compete and get good at snowboarding. And anyways, it's a very strange thing that I've never once in my whole career lived in the mountains as a professional snowboarder. So the idea was these kids, they come in, they see what the pros are doing. We have a learn to ride area, and then we had a collaboration with Mammoth Mountain, Snow Summit, and Big Bear that when you buy a ticket, you get a free lift pass to the mountain. So it completes that cycle of everybody seeing it, trying it, getting inspired, and then maybe going up to the mountain and actually continuing on in the sport, breathing new life into it, new blood, which is always exciting to be in that position to give back and to try to, I don't know, do something for the sport that's given me so much.
Well, that's awesome. I also saw like you and BuzzFeed did a cool thing where you surprised some kids and taught them how to snowboard. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's always awesome. Yeah, we were at Mammoth Mountain. Mammoth recently purchased Big Bear and Snow Summit. And while they were doing that, I called them and said, hey, I'd love to invest. These are my home resorts. So I'm actually now a partner in the mountain. I own part of the mountains. And I decided since I could flex my new power, I would just surprise these kids in their lessons as their coach. Like, hey, what's up? We're going to hit the half pipe today, so just follow me. And yeah.
Like, Shaun White.
Yeah, it was pretty good. The one was a very proper British child, though. He's
like, hello, Shaun White.
Lovely. Oh, the half pipe, okay.
And every time he fell, he's like, oh, whoops.
Very nice to meet you. Have a lovely day.
Well, you'll have to bring Aaron's style to the East Coast, because us here, who I go up to the mountains, you know, Vermont and stuff like that, where you have to bundle up to ski. And then I went out to Utah to ski, and you can wear like a sweatshirt. I'm like, this is unfair.
There's talks about bringing it out here, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a fun thing for me to do. And the perks of it, if you think about, like, have you ever been to a festival and you're like, I would have chosen this lineup. I actually get to do that. So I put in my wish list of things, and like Major Laser's playing, and Diplo actually played our first event. So we called him up like, hey, will you come back and play again as Major Laser and do your whole thing? Flume. YG came, and we signed him to do the show, and he wanted to go snowboarding, so I took him up to Big Bear, and he just brought his whole crew with him. It's pretty fun to see city people come up to the mountains. He can skateboard, so I was like, all right, he might be good. He did pretty well, but you know, it's fun, that connection between sports and music. You know, I've run into Vince Staples, who's playing the show a bunch of times. You know, so usually I go through my phone book first and see who's available, who I can coax into coming to play the show, and then, you know, we go through the bookers. But it's a really exciting time for music festivals, for sporting, and for snowboarding. You know, with the Olympics coming up, they keep taking on more disciplines. So I've competed in the half pipe plenty of times, and then this last Olympics they did slopestyle, which is a series of jumps, and now they're doing big air, which is our event, which Andrew Harmont started basically 23 years ago in Austria, drinking schnapps. Like, so it's come a far way from there. Now it's Olympic discipline, so we're actually in talks with the Federation of International Skiing and the International Olympic Committee to make our event an Olympic qualifier. So you would be there watching Flume, and you would turn around and see a kid living his dream of attending the Olympics in downtown LA. So it's a pretty amazing thing. That snowboarding's in the future not even going to take place on the mountains. It could be taking place in the city. And that's the whole excitement of it. It's like people that have never even seen snow before in Los Angeles can come check this out and get inspired and be introduced to something they've never seen before.
That's awesome, Shaun. Good work. Well, I do want to open it up to some audience Q&A. So
please.
First. Hey, Shaun, how you doing?
I'm good.
Like the famous saying goes, if you find a career you love, you never got to work a day in your life. Right now, do you still feel like you're having fun, or you're just doing it as a job?
That's a great question. You know, just like with anything, it's like you could be in a room collecting checks all day and find something to complain about. You know, I mean, actually would like that job, but you know what I mean? But it's a thing. There's an ebb and flow of it, just like anything. You're like, one day you love it, and one day you're just like, oh, this is tough, and then you got to find that passion to be back where you first started and be into it. And so, yeah, I'd be lying to say that there weren't days where I'm like, man, I was just in Calgary, Canada. It was like minus 27. And I'm like, I quit. I'm done. Like, this is too cold. I'm like, I left Malibu to go to Canada. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, this is insane. I'm like, I got enough money. I'm good. Like, I'm out. No, but you realize while you're there, you're like, man, it's more than the money. It's more than fame. It's just something that you've got to do for yourself. And so I stuck it out. I learned some new tricks. I was there. I made it worth my while. And and went on to the next. But I think that's important in any aspect in life. Yeah, you got to find out what you're into and stick with it. And I feel fortunate that I found snowboarding at such a young age. I mean, I started when I was 5. I got sponsored at 7, and then I went pro at 13. So it all happened really quickly for me. And the one thing about that happening so soon is that I was never distracted by anything else. I never did the like, well, am I going to be a doctor? Am I going to be an astronaut? Am I going to be a... Yeah. And I start the astronaut path and then try to switch to being a lawyer. You know, like I knew what I wanted from the very get-go, and I let my dreams just kind of become that reality in any way I could. So I say, like, if you find it, stick to it and don't let people kind of sway you. You know, as long as it feels right to you, stick with it.
Right here.
Hey, Shaun. There have been some serious injuries, people in the park. Have you ever worried that that might happen to you, or has there been any injury that made you scared to get back out there? And also, do you have any tips for somebody starting off out in the park?
Yeah. Well, first for injuries, I mean, it's just kind of par for the course. I mean, when you're trying hard tricks, you're gonna fall, you know, and it's how severely you fall and how well you can prepare yourself. I mean, I wear a helmet. I definitely am riding within my capabilities. I've been doing this my whole life, so it's like I've worked my way up to it. You know, if you were you just got your license, you wouldn't go into a F1 race. You know, you got to work at your pace. But yeah, it's intimidating. A friend of mine was put in a coma going up for the Vancouver Olympics, and it was heavy to see because I was trying one of the hardest tricks of my life at that same time. It was definitely in my mind, but you know, you got to realize that you're taking risks every day in every single way. I'm probably driving to the mountains, the most dangerous part of all of it, you know, but we take that risk because we do it every day, and we calculate it, and you wear your seatbelt, you know how to drive, you pass the test, you know, you do it in your own limits and things. But yeah, I definitely try to keep that out of my mind when I'm riding, and that's why I love competitions. Competitions, you have to do the tricks. So it changes that subtle mindset when you're dropping in and you have to do a triple flip. You're committed. You're going to do it. There's no seed of doubt that like, oh, I'm going to go at it and actually not try it because, you know, there's cameras, there's judges, there's something on the line. So for me, I have a difficulty recreating that type of environment during training. You know, when it's cold, there's no one there, you're in Canada, it's well below freezing, and like, you want to try one of the hardest tricks of your life, it's not the most inspiring time and place to do it. So nowadays, I wait for the competition to happen. And I would say for up-and-coming riders, you know, don't be influenced by YouTube and your friends and like, you know what I mean? Don't see something and just think you can do it. Definitely like ride within your own limits and don't be coaxed into doing something you're not ready for by a friend. Because I've heard that story too many times. Well, I was there and he said I could do it and I figured I'd try to jump off.
Broke my clavicle.
Yeah, totally. It's like, you know, and definitely like give yourself at least like 4 or 5 days of just slowly getting used to riding because it's new muscles you're using, it's new senses you're working with. So take your time. Yeah.
When we were talking about that injuries, I was thinking of the crash reel, that documentary with Kevin Pierce, if you guys haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't? You're in it a lot.
I just like, it's like the last thing I need to.
Yeah, it's scary.
You know, I love him, obviously, he's a friend of mine, but I'm like, man, it's the last thing I need, like, in the back. It's like that scary movies you can't unsee. Yeah. And you're like looking for Chucky around the like. There's gonna be a face in that window. I'm not even gonna look.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. Here we go.
Adding on to what you were saying, what other advice do you have for like future snowboarders that I want to be upcoming, be great, stuff like that?
Like to actually go pro and to do the whole thing? Yeah,
Start when you're 4 years old?
Yeah, I mean, starting young helps, you know, but I think a big component of my, advantage as a young rider is that I rode with people that were a lot better than me. So my older brother is 7 years older than me, and I was learning all the tricks he was learning, but 7 years younger. So by the time I entered my age divisions, I was already well beyond any tricks that they were trying, and I was off to the next. That's why I went pro at such a young age. But, you know, ride with people that are better than you and inspire you, and then, you know, obviously enter some of the local competitions, see what type of snowboarding you like, you know, if it's jumps or if it's rails or if it's half pipe. And then if you're really going to make a go for it, you have two decisions. You're either going to try to get your own sponsors and they're going to help pay your travel and your ways to get around the mountains, or you need to work hard and try to join something like the U.S. team, because the team will take you to these places and pay for it. And, you know, because it's a very expensive sport, you know, to have lift tickets, to have the gear, the equipment, lodging, food, all these things. You know, but they can give you physical therapists and all these other kind of extra things that you wouldn't normally have to your, you know, access to. So, yeah.
Well, we can't wait to watch you this year as you prepare for the Olympics. I don't want to call it a comeback because you've been around.
Do not.
And you just won this weekend, so I have good faith that you could win another gold medal, right, guys? Thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much, Shaun. Thank you.
Thanks.